Good day, everyone. I am Floridel Espinoza, and I will be discussing about the curriculum response of higher education for teacher education amid the pandemic and beyond. But before we start with our discussion, let us first define our desired learning outcomes. First is to identify the implications of the occurrence of COVID-19 pandemic to teacher education curriculum. Second is to propose adjustments to the curriculum during a pandemic. And the last one is to identify ways and means to address the curriculum vis-a-vis the situation that prevails during the pandemic. First, we have the curriculum modification. Curriculum modification is a process of making adjustments to existing programs in higher education, specifically teachers' educations, in order to the needs of the learners amid the post-pandemic. In this curriculum modification, we really have to adjust as to what the situation is and also for our students to be safe and secured when they are learning. In curriculum modification, we have the focusing on the essentials. So we have to map the enduring and the needed outcomes. So the challenge now during this pandemic that we are facing is how to create balance between relevant basic competencies for the students to acquire and the teacher's desire to achieve the entire outcomes of the program or course. So in order for us to solve this challenge, the teacher needs to revisit the existing curriculum and to analyze the outcomes of the program or the course. The second one under the curriculum modification is the rearranging of the college course offerings. So the theories and concepts that can be delivered online may be offered in the first 2 years while face-to-face delivery is not yet feasible. The third one under the curriculum modification is the offering of elective or cognate courses that relate to the pandemic. In global crisis, that is imperative for the curriculum to be adjusted by offering courses that are needed to survive and thrive amid the challenges of the pandemic. So it is not only offering the subjects and courses needed by the students to their chosen professions, but also ensuring the students to learn something that could help them in their mental health and also their productivity and thinking skills. So here are some proposed elective courses. The first one is the change management. This helps people to adapt and change in this time of pandemic, so we really have to adapt and to do things that will work considering the situation. Next is the disaster risk management. It is not only just the pandemic that is our enemy, but there are also disasters that may come in our way, and we have to be ready and be prepared. Next is the flexible learning and teaching strategies. This will help us since we are unable to go to school, it will help us to garner collaborative learning through the teacher's way of dealing with students. Another one is the resilient education. This can be somewhat related to change management because it helps to teach students to adapt and also to cope up with the situations, and this could be a big help to people that are struggling with anxiety caused by the pandemic. Another one is the alternative assessment. This would allow the students to execute and perform activities in their own ways creatively despite the pandemic through online or virtual interactions. Next is the remote teaching. The process of teaching that is performed at a distance, it can be a pre-recorded lecture or the use of online resources like sending supplemental videos that are related to the topic. Another one is the health and mental wellness. It helps the students in coping up with stress and difficulties in their studies because of the new normal and difficulties in doing online classes. We also need to pay attention to their mental health. Instructional materials development for blended instructions. This would help teachers to identify how they will deliver their lecture and will also help the future educators in the learning process. Next is the active learning principles and practices. Now that we are focusing on the learner-centered learning environment, it will be easy for the students to reflect on what they have learned with a distant or online guide of teachers when tackling a lesson. And lastly, the psychosocial support during crisis. This could also relate to health and mental awareness or mental wellness, and through this, the schools may proceed to conducting or allowing students to attend mental health webinars for a stable mind and help them focus on studying. The fourth one under the curriculum modification is modifying the taught curriculum. This is another way of modifying curriculum and ensuring learning continuity during the pandemic and the implementation of multiple learning delivery modalities. So considering the face-to-face modality is not feasible, teachers may consider flexible distant learning options like correspondence teaching. In correspondence teaching, it is enabling to provide education for non-resident students, primarily adults, sent into emails. Then the next one is module-based learning. This one is used by DepEd for elementary and secondary students. Another one is the project-based. It is the engagement so we can engage the students in real-world and personally meaningful projects such as in order for them to investigate, observe, and solve the problems. And the television broadcasts. Using the Knowledge Channel, DepEd TV, wherein students could watch different topics discussed by different teachers by the means of television. This enables the students to watch lessons that they might be encountering and give additional knowledge for them while learning in this kind of situation. And the last one, under the curriculum modification, is modifying the assessed curriculum. There can be adjustments on the assessment measures, and it can also be considered amid this pandemic. So we need to limit requirements and focus on the major essential projects that measures the enduring learning outcomes like case scenarios, problem-based activities, and capstone project. Authentic assessment has to be intensified to ensure that competencies are acquired by the learners. So in this process of modifying the curriculum amid the pandemic, it must be remembered that initiatives and evaluation tasks must be anchored on what the learners needed, including their safety and well-being. In modifying the assessed curriculum, we have to consider the activities that we are going to give are those that matches the type of delivery we are using and also the type of assessment that would risk the health and safety of our students.